The Washington football team made it official, and Dwayne Haskins, their starting quarterback, has been benched. And I think it's fair to say, WFT, WTF. Because if I'm Dwayne Haskins, I'm wondering, how did I go from first-round pick to third string behind Kyle Allen and Alex Smith? I mean, think about this. Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins were both drafted in the first round of the 2019 draft. The Giants are obsessed with Daniel Jones, who is a turnover machine. Dwayne Haskins gets benched and demoted to third string. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Dwayne Haskins has been a world beater this year or last year, but if anyone thinks this is Dwayne Haskins' fault, you're not paying attention. Last year, the offensive line was a disaster. Washington botched the whole Trent Williams situation, didn't play it down during Haskins' rookie season. Remember, they failed in terms of when he was going to start the season. We first guessed that on Time to Shine. He should have started week number 1. The head coach, Jay Gruden, got fired. Injuries all over the place. Ron Rivera came in, and it was pretty crystal clear he didn't have any use for Dwayne Haskins. Haskins last year had a really strong month of December. Remember when Darius Geis was running the football effectively for Washington? I wish he got a more fair shake. But Rivera, it was pretty clear he wanted no part of Haskins. Remember all the draft tour rumors, which was never going to happen because Chase Young is special. But Kyle Allen was his guy in Carolina. And the minute, we said it on Time to Shine, the minute they brought in, you gave up a draft pick for Kyle Allen, we said he's going to play. And not what I would do, what Ron Rivera is going to do. And that's kind of a problem if you are a fan of the Washington football team. Now, Alex Smith is officially the number 2. That's awesome news you could use. And Alex Smith, one of my favorite players in the NFL, the epitome of class. And, you know, he had a gruesome injury. And if he could ever see the field again, that would be great. But Dwayne Haskins just buried and banished to third string at the quarterback position. Look, I like this kid a lot coming out of Ohio State. And I am just disappointed for him. He was dealt a rough hand to get drafted by Washington. Obviously, bad ownership. Last year, terrible team president. You know, a total mess of an organization. And I hope that he would be given a longer leash than this. Didn't have a normal offseason. I feel terrible for Dwayne Haskins. How about this in terms of news you could use? Joe Flacco is going to be the Jets quarterback this week. I repeat, Joe Flacco is going to be the Jets quarterback this week. Sam Darnold is out. By the way the Jets handled Sam Darnold and Mekhi Becton last Thursday in terms of health, I mean, that is malpractice. And if you're a Jets fan, you should be going ballistic. Just when you think it can't get worse, oh, it does. Look, the Jets signed Joe Flacco because their backup quarterback situation last year was just the pits. It was as bad as it gets. Joe Flacco, forget about the debate on whether or not he's elite. Joe Flacco is not any good anymore, but he's better than Trevor Siemian and the cast of characters, Luke Falk, a bunch of guys they had last year in New York. So, listen, it can't be any worse. But then again, it's the Jets, so it can be. But look at Joe Flacco in a Jets uniform, just jarring every time you see it. Nice job handling Sam Darnold and Mekhi Becton out of this. Can't make it up if you try. Patriots star defensive back Stephon Gilmore has tested positive for COVID-19. Last year's Defensive Player of the Year is reportedly the only New England player to test positive from Tuesday's round of tests. The Patriots canceled Wednesday's practice and conducted virtual meetings instead. In a tweet this afternoon, Gilmore said he is asymptomatic and urged others to please take this seriously. Amy Trask, who's nice enough to give us a few minutes, as always. And Amy, Jerry Jones said that they're not going to make any changes to the defensive staff with the Dallas Cowboys. And, you know, that's up for conversation and debate if that's right, wrong, or indifferent. But this defense is historically inept. So as a unit, how do they get better?
Well, you're right, Adam. It is up for debate, and it is having tremendous problems, giving up a league worst points per game, 36.5 points per game, only 2 takeaways all season, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery. And I was intrigued and concerned about something Dak Prescott recently said. He said, we want to play fast. Even if we're up by a couple of touchdowns, we want to play fast. Well, by playing fast, if you don't score each time you have the ball, and frankly, even when you do, you're putting your defense on the field for more time at a time when your defense is struggling. So, Dak, you may want to slow your roll and not leave the defense on the field quite so much.
It's an excellent point, and there is a direct correlation. Totally agree with that. Bill O'Brien is out in Houston. My feelings on Billy O have been well documented. So now, moving it forward, Amy, how do the Texans get back to winning?
Protect 3 things. Protect your quarterback. You've got a terrific young quarterback, but you've given up a league worst 16 sacks. So protect your quarterback. Protect your roster. You traded DeAndre Hopkins for what many believe was poor compensation. You traded a treasure trove of draft picks for Laramie Tunsil and didn't negotiate a new contract. And you made a very interesting, questionable from a business standpoint, trade when you gave away Jadeveon Clowney. So protect your quarterback, protect your roster, and finally protect your future. You've traded away some tremendous talent, and you've left yourself devoid of draft picks at the same time. So it's not like you're balancing and saying, well, we'll give up talent, but we'll get draft picks. You're giving up both. Just next year alone, no number 1 and no number 2.
Absolutely insane. Great analysis there, Amy. I'm curious to get your take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had a surprise bye week last week with the pushback with the game against the Tennessee Titans to later in the season. So if you're Mike Tomlin, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, how do you reset and refocus now on the next challenge in the next ball game?
Well, I love what Mike Tomlin said. In the wake of those changes, he was asked, how do you feel about having to play 13 games in a row? And his quote was, we don't care. And I love that because I think he meant more than simply we don't care about the 13 games in a row. I interpreted that to be we don't care about these challenges. Look, Adam, we all know there's going to be challenges this season. Teams are going to have to be adaptable. They're going to have to be creative. They're going to have to approach these, the adaptations are going to have to make with ingenuity. When a corner gets blown by on a play, just blown by and gives up a touchdown, he comes back to the huddle and everybody says, shake it off, come on, let's move on, let's do the next thing. And that's what teams are going to have to do with these changes. They're going to have to do like Taylor Swift said and shake it off and just recognize that everyone in this country and in the world is having to adapt and make changes. You know what? I love what Tomlin said. We don't care.
Once again, Taylor Swift, light years ahead of the curve. When you log on to CBSSports.com and check the NFL standings page, Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles, Amy, are in first place. I'm curious to get your take on a division winner that's sub 500 getting a home playoff game. Do you agree with that? It is what it is, or is that something that the league and the competition committee should look into changing?
It's funny that you use the expression, it is what it is. I hate that expression. I have hated that expression forever and ever and ever, but you're absolutely right. It is what it is. As much as I hate the expression, it's perfect in this instance. That's not unique to this season. We've seen this happen before. Now, we're only through 25% of the season, and Philadelphia still has 5 division games, 2 against Dallas, 2 against New York, and 1 against Washington. So we'll see where this ends up. Maybe it won't be a 500 or sub 500 team winning the division.
Amy, I know how much you love Aaron Rodgers, and I love Aaron Rodgers, and he was sensational on Pat McAfee's outstanding radio show on Mad Dog Sports Radio, and he had this gem of a quote when he said, down years for me are career years for others. I couldn't get enough. What was your reaction hearing that? When
I heard that, I paused for a moment, and then I thought about it and said, he's right. he is right. A down year for him would be considered a tremendous year for a lot of other quarterbacks. And I like it, and I like his swagger, and you do know that I like my Cal guys.
He is sensational, and he is having an MVP season, and he's doing it with all the injuries at the wide receiver position. And despite the fact that Brian Gutekunst didn't draft the receiver in the first round, and drafted his replacement, the Aaron Rodgers Take That tour is real and spectacular. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.